How's it going? This is episode 36 of CueBall's E Rambles. And today, I've got another special guest on the Rambles. Quick introduction. He's a very well-traveled professional wrestler, wrestling in well-known companies such as WWE, ECW, TNA Wrestling, and Celebrity Wrestling. Don't know if anybody would remember that. And he's very, very popular on the independent wrestling scene. Punters, I give you Mr. Joe E. Legend.
Thank you for having me.
That's all right. Thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
Not my pleasure.
Honestly, it's an honor. It's an honor for you to be coming on to this. Not I like to do. Just so
no, my pleasure.
Speak to all wrestlers and all that. I love it. Yeah, like I said before this started, thanks for coming on. I know you've just had hip replacement, like you just said to me. So
yeah, both.
Yeah.
So, one done in September and one done in January.
I can't imagine they're very nice, to be honest.
They're not fun, but I'm so much better now. And, being a cyborg is interesting.
Yeah, fair enough. Some sort of superhero, I guess.
I guess, yeah. The iron hip, I guess.
In hip, yeah. So, should we start the questions? You happy to start?
Sure, hit me.
So, everybody in wrestling has a story. And for everybody who comes on, I will ask the same question because everybody's story is different. So how and why did you get into the wrestling business?
I got into it because I'm terrified of four walls. I was taking martial arts. I have black belts in karate and kung fu and stuff like that. So I always like being the one-on-one sports as opposed to teams. And I was just in school. My dad took me to see wrestling shows in Toronto, where I'm originally from. And I'd go to see them with my brother. And we started watching on TV and getting an interest. And it just struck me that, okay, with the karate, I can probably, beat up most of the people on the unemployment line, but it doesn't make me any money. And it just intrigued me to be able to travel. And, I like the showbiz part of the business as much as I like the athletic. And so that kind of struck me that I don't want to sit in an office. I don't want to alphabetize insurance forms for the rest of my life. I don't want to be on a machine in a factory. I want to go out and see the world. I want to go, meet people and wrestle in front of, big crowds and enjoy myself. And, 30 years and 46 countries later, I think I've done okay with it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Very good. So obviously you've been in WWE. So let's speak about your time in WWE as Just Joe. Let's say the story.
Worst gimmick in wrestling history. I was signed up originally because they were going to have the new Freebirds. It's going to be me, Reckless Youth, and one other guy. They changed the idea a few times of who the third guy was going to be. But they signed me on. Michael Hayes had to sign off on me. They flew me in. I'd had 2 tryouts at their gym in Connecticut. And they told me they liked me. They just weren't sure what they wanted to do just yet, but to definitely stay in touch. So I was like, all right, that could be, stay in touch, we want you, or, don't call us, we'll call you type thing.
Yeah.
But then I got a call saying that Michael Hayes wants to manage the new Freebirds. And I was like, all right. And he goes, he thinks you could be the new Terry Gordy of the Freebirds. I'm like, I'm a big Terry Gordy fan, so that's like, but at the same time, like, the Southern Front drink, the anti, you want to get paid or not? I'm like, you make a point. So they flew me into Connecticut, and they saw it took between there and getting me my work visa. Hayes had a change of heart about being an on-camera guy. He just wanted to agent the tag division. Right. So they pulled the Freebird gimmick, and they didn't quite know what to do with me. So I got flown in for a meeting with Vince, and it took all day. I arrived at like 10 in the morning, and I didn't see him till like 7 in the evening. So hung around Titan Tower all day. They had the gym there to work out. They had lunch, lovely meals and everything. But there was a huge blizzard out. Like I got the last flight out of Toronto before they closed the airport. And I was fretting there. I'm not going to miss my chance. It sucks. And then I went and got the Just Joe thing. But I was pitching various gimmicks to him when I got in the room. He was really complimentary. Like Linda went and got me coffee. Like she's a sweetheart. Bruce was putting me over strong. And Vince is like, you really get it, don't you? I'm like, okay, sure. You say so. You're going to pay me? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And he goes, I see you as a good mechanic in the ring. I said, okay. He goes, you're a cross between Mick Foley and Ted DiBiase. I'm like, that's tremendous. Thank you. Like I'm a big DiBiase guy. So like, thanks. And so he said, what do you see yourself doing? And I said that I said, I'd like to be heel. And I'd like to do a cult leader gimmick. It's just freak me out. To be able to take somebody who wouldn't normally hurt a fly and just manipulate them, that they would go and kill somebody because I gave them the green light. I said, that's scary to see somebody manipulate something like that. I think there's money in there. And he was like, we don't like religious connotations. And I'm like, brother love, ministry of darkness, brother diva. I don't say this, but this is what's going on in my head. Like, well, that's a pile of horse shit. But all right. And then I pitched, I said, well, then how about I get my hair all cut off real short, suit and tie, something I got from watching old Dory Funk stuff. I said, it was like right at the tail end of the grunge scene as being a part of pop culture. And I was like, well, I should show up in a suit and tie and basically tell American youth that they've got to straighten up and get a haircut and get rid of the facial piercings and stop showing off these tattoos and get a real job and be decent people and have a group called the Moral Majority. And he was like, I don't really see money in that. And then, of course, right to censor comes, right? But either way. Spitballing with him. And then eventually I kind of circled back to the cult leader thing because I really think there's legs in that. And he said, I just don't like the religious part. I said, yeah, but I'm not saying I'm God. I'm just saying I'm a messenger. And that's where I'm the manipulative jackass. And he all of a sudden he does like the classic, like Mr. McMahon, the messenger. Don't blame me. I'm just the messenger. And I was just like watching him disappear into the character, I guess. I was like, all right. And then he's asking Bruce to check and see if the messenger is like, can be copyrighted and all this stuff. So it started off pretty strong. And I was essentially going to do, I do the backstage stuff where I had all the inside information on the guys. So like Crash Holly, he's scheduled to wrestle Taz tonight. So he's like, oh man, Taz, he's a killer. He's going to choke me out. I'm scared. And then I just kind of appear out of nowhere. So, well, there are ways to beat Taz if you want to know. And then he greases me a few bucks. And then I tell him, Taz, or his bicep arm, you'll be fine. And then he beats Taz.
Ah, nice.
So people keep coming to me and I have everybody's inside information and I start manipulating things until I get in the ring. And I always have the inside information. And so that seemed to be the way we were going. And then when they brought me to TV, they used me to get the Kurt Angle and Hunter feud off the ground. Because I was like, hey, Hunter, Kurt's trying to nail your wife. And hey, Kurt, Hunter's slapping around Stephanie. And I got them going. And then once they got the angle started, they had to pull me off it or he would switch to me. So I get that. I'm not bitter about that. Bitter about a lot, but not that. But once they pulled me out of there, they had nothing for me. And anytime I tried to pitch something, the writers would get hot. No, we've got it. And they never did. And I mean, I talked to Shane about it. I talked to Stephanie. I was like, look, you guys are booking me out of a job here. I said, I don't even know. Like, am I telling the truth or am I lying backstage? I'm like, what difference does it make? I said, it makes all the difference in the world. If I'm telling the truth, it means I'm a babyface and I'm trying to help. If I'm lying, why am I lying? You don't just lie for the sake of lying. You lie because you're a manipulative bastard and you're trying to get a plan together. So what's my plan? Like, oh, we'll figure it out. They didn't. And shortly after I went to Memphis for them and then they bought WCW and sacked me and I don't know, a dozen people the same day. So that was my WWE run.
Yeah. So it's so it sounds, experience. I suppose experience would come from that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a terrible politician. I always have been. Like, my yes is yes, my no is no. If I like you, you know it. If I don't like you, I don't have to like drag you outside and fight you. You'll know I don't like you. And you have to be very political back there. So leaving there, I was bitter because the money was great, the travel was great. You know, you can't argue. You get in the job for fun, but you get in for money is even better. And I would just, at the end of it, it was like, you know what? I don't belong there, simply because I can't undermine people. To push myself, I always feel like I'm being a jerk if I, don't let me beat him because I should beat him. Well, why? Well, because I want to win. It's being a bit of a mark. But it also works for a lot of guys who it winds up making the millions of dollars. So It's just, some people have the character for that, and my character is different. So I didn't belong there. Yeah. No, so if anything, it's kind of good I got out early.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I'd say. So after WWE, you went to TNA, which is now Impact Wrestling, which is successful. You won tag team gold. So let's hear about your time in TNA.
Okay. After I left WWE, I came over to Europe for a while. Then I went to Puerto Rico for a while. And when I left Puerto Rico, I started working for WWE, which was Andrew McManus's WCW guys that Vince had bought. They had Luger and Sting and Bagwell and Norman Smiley and stuff like that. And we're doing big arena shows all through England, Ireland, Scotland, Switzerland for the first trip. Second trip was Australia, New Zealand. And they brought in Jeff Jarrett to do an NWA title match for a couple days. He wasn't there for the whole trip. But I worked Mike Sanders every night and always had good matches. Mike is criminally underrated. He's a hell of a talent. Doesn't get the credit he deserves. But while I was there, I talked to Jeff and I'm like, look, who do I got to talk to get in with TNA? And he's like, me. It's like, all right, well, I'm talking to you. What do we do? He says, oh, I really like your stuff. I want to bring you in, da-da-da-da. I said, okay, well, let me know. So January came and nothing. And then they couldn't give me a start date. So that's when I decided to go to Puerto Rico. I said, you let me know when the doors open and I'll come. But in the meantime, I'm going to Puerto Rico. So I did, I think, 3 or 4 months in Puerto Rico. And then I went back for WWA for Australia, New Zealand. Bumped into Jeff again. He says, all right, when we're done here, go to Detroit because Scott D'Amore School's in Windsor. So I can live right in Windsor. And if I fly from Detroit, it's like a $200 flight. If I fly from Toronto, it's like $1,000 a week. Oh, right. It's like, all right, I'll move. Exactly. Yeah, it's international, right? But I can drive across the border and fly basically domestic. So I moved to Windsor. I started being the trainer at Scott D'Amore School. And they start bringing me into TNA. And it goes well for a bit. And then we had 1 week off for some reason. And I said, well, actually, I've got an offer to go for 2 weeks or for 10 days to Germany for their mini tournament within their big tournament for a 10-day run. Can I do that? And they said, well, we got some stuff. You're going to miss a week. I said, if it's going to fuck my push, then I won't go. Yeah. So I remember talking to Russo about that specifically. And he's like, no, go ahead. Maybe we can use that and say you just came back from this big successful trip to Germany. I was like, okay, if you're sure. He was sure. So I came to Germany, did it. When I came back, I get creative's got nothing for you for a few weeks. And Scott D'Amore's pushing for me, but they're being difficult, especially once Dutch Mantel came in. I worked for Dutch in Puerto Rico, and the Dutch came out and was booker for TNA. Dutch knows what he's doing for Puerto Rico, has no clue what he's doing for TNA. So eventually they give me the, okay, we've got an idea for you. This is the one is a kiss of death. Scott goes, they've got an idea for you. Now don't shit on it until I'm done. So it's going to be god awful. I was like, all right. He goes, well, they want to put you with that red shirt security. I'm like, what? Why? He said, well, they just think you and NORTHCUTT could be a good team. I said, I'm sure we could, but I came in and was a steamroller over Jeff. And now I'm going to use that as a springboard to a lucrative career in security where I defend Jeff? How does that make any sense at all? And Scott's like, look, if you say no, you say no, and we can wait until they have something else, but there's no guarantee there's going to be something else. I'm like, well, I don't want to go without fucking wages. So I took that reluctantly.
Yeah. And
they just kept trying to kill us every week. And they kept saying, these guys, like, the thing that was nice was apparently in the production meetings, they were saying, gee, was like, we cannot kill these red shirt guys. Like, no matter what we do with them, they always have heat. They always have heat. They're always, getting great crowd reactions. And the internet's giving them great buzz too.
Yeah.
So my reaction is, do something with us. Their response is, we'll show them. And they just kept grinding us down. Eventually they slid us over for the tag belts, but I think we only held them a week or two. And then we dropped him to AJ Styles by himself. Because it was supposed to be him and Abyss against me and Kevin. And then Apollo came out and got into a fist fight with Abyss, and they left. And it was just AJ against the two of us, and they put AJ over. And then they did a thing where they wanted to turn me babyface, where I come back on Jeff. So they had Jeff get mad at us losing the belts and clobber me with the guitar. And then, we're just going to send you home for 2 weeks. And 2 weeks became months.
Mm.
So eventually I just waited out the time of my contract. In fairness, I know Dixie Carter gets a lot of crap from people, but Dixie paid me out every dime I was promised. And Dixie was always really nice to me. She was never moody. Once again, I've heard a lot of terrible stories, but my experience with her, she was really great. So I got paid out, and just conveniently, the guy I worked for in Germany buzzed me and said, hey, you interested in going to Moscow? I said, yeah. He says, yeah, well, we got this gig in Moscow. I said, okay, well, I'm planning on moving back to Germany. Can you fly me from Toronto? Because I drove up to Toronto to say goodbye to my parents before I moved. Can you fly me from Toronto to Moscow, then Moscow to Hanover, Germany, instead of me round tripping? It'll save me like $800 in an airfare. He's like, yeah, we got sponsors. They'll handle it. So it was serendipitous that just at the right time, the guy bought me the international flight. I got to go to Russia for the first time. I've been like 10 times, I think. But for the first time to go to an interesting place like Russia, but that was my exit from America was going to Russia. So I feel like Ivan Drago.
Nice. Very nice. So before your time in WWE and TNA, you actually was with a guy named, I want to say, make sure I get his name right, SEXTON Hardcastle.
Yeah.
Now, to anybody who doesn't know that is now Edge.
Yeah, and, or the former Adam Impact, yeah.
Adam Impact. So what's the story behind you two then? Did you debut together? Did you train together? Or, yeah.
Well, what happened was I started in Toronto, and I'd been there about a year. No, I meant that. I was there 2 years training in Toronto. And then I started getting a couple of bookings here and there. And then Adam won SIKI and Ron had a contest in the Toronto Sun newspaper to write an essay, and the best essay gets free wrestling training. And Adam won the contest.
Oh, right, okay.
So he joined up, and I was always nice to him. But then I took off. I had to go to Japan for FMW. So while I was there, my buddy Keith, who I was really close with, I called him from Japan. He's like, yeah, this Adam guy, he's all right. We've been hanging out all the time. You have to hang out when you get back. So I came back and we started hanging out. And then I went to Winnipeg for a month. Came back, so I had doors I'd kicked open there so that I could bring all the boys. And Adam, every time I came back, he'd improved considerably from the time I left. So we were all hanging out and just, as buddies, you spitball ideas of what you want to do in the job and stuff. And I came up with the idea. I said, we should be a tag team called Sex and Violence. And we both really liked the idea. He started drawing pictures of what the gear should look like and everything. And our manager in Detroit, handsome Johnny Bradford, wrestling's only deaf manager and a superhuman being, he contacted Pro Wrestling Illustrated to do an article on us. And Pro Wrestling Illustrated wouldn't do it because the name was too suggestive.
Right. Okay.
Just that name. Now, considering what's happened to the industry since, it's pretty tame, right?
Yeah.
But it took I think a year, 2 years before they would do an article on us. And Detroit took care of us pretty well. And, other Winnipeg and other areas, we were doing Boston and Cleveland, shit like that. So we were getting around pretty well and getting a good name. And we did an angle in Detroit where they were looking like we were going to separate us because they had the street fight tags and the Midwest tag belts, I think they were called. There's two different sets of tag belts in Detroit. We had them both.
Right.
So we're doing the tag teams melting down. So we had the show, drew a great crowd. Crowd was nuts. We fought each other towards the end of the match. And we were saying we were from New Jersey, by the way, because the New Jersey Devils hockey team had beaten the Detroit Red Wings hockey team in the Stanley Cup 4 games straight. So, of course, we come out in Jersey Devils tricos, we call them in Germany, jerseys, to piss off the crowd. So then Christian comes out to the ring during our meltdown match and says, "Guys, what are you doing here? You've let these Detroit guys ruin you. They're bastards. And, you're even from Canada. You're saying from the States with this." Then, of course, the Americans jump the ring, get mad at us. Then RHYNO jumps in the ring on our side. And we started a pro-Canadian clique. Canada's better than the U.S. Fuck you, U.S. clique called Thug Life.
Yeah.
Which was me, Edge, Christian, and RHYNO. And then we started, burning the American flag in the ring. And there was 14 riots. We caused like fist fighting with the crowd to get back to the locker room. We had a great time.
That's how it's done.
It was fun. But the funny thing was we did ours, and then 3 weeks later, Brett started his pro-Canadian gimmick on WWE and made ours look weak by comparison because he had the big machine behind him. But I like to believe we were a little bit ahead of the curve. Yeah. But yeah, Brett's obviously curb stomped us.
So, in terms of working, it's obviously you worked with ECW as well.
I never did ECW. I had some workouts with ECW, and RHYNO had me lined up for a tryout with them that had it gone as well as we were expecting, I would have had the spot Carino got.
Right.
But that weekend was the weekend I signed with WWE.
Well, that's what my apologies for getting that wrong. My apologies.
In hindsight, I should have done the ECW. I probably would have got a better spot later on.
Yeah.
But, you see ECW struggling with money. You see WWE, billion-dollar company. Who are you going to go with? So I stand by my decision despite the outcome.
Yeah, no, it's completely understandable. It's fair enough. Working in WWE and working with TNA, what was the difference? Was it less pressure working with TNA, or was it more pressure?
Mostly the spelling. Yeah. There was pressure at TNA to perform because we were trying to prove ourselves. Trying to not just fade away. People, didn't just want to be a one-shot wonder and leave. We had to work hard to get some lasting power out of the company, which has lasted longer than I expected, truthfully. WWE is far better organized. They pay way better. But they also have years and years behind them to get all that stuff right. TNA came in green, run by guys who really only run local stuff. So they didn't know how to run a big national or international program. I like Dusty. I got on great with Dusty. But to have him as your commissioner and, we're going to go to our commissioner and he's going to set the gimmick match for the pay-per-view. And then there's Dusty sitting on the back of a pickup truck on a bale of hay with like a straw hanging out of his mouth. And is that your cosmopolitan modern wrestling promotion, or is that a Tennessee independent? So they gave this, World Wrestling Confederation kind of image to the company that the company, I don't think, ever kind of dug itself out of in that time. So that's where the struggle was. WWE was just such a huge machine, and everybody just kneels at the altar of Vince. That I think if you shoot the breeze with Vince, he'll be straight with you. I really don't think I don't think he's a great person. I don't think you can be dealing with that many people because you just can't make everybody's dream come true.
Yeah.
And if you want to get the most out of people, you kind of got to promise them that you will.
Mm.
So, I can shed on him for that, but I can also say I understand.
Yeah.
Jarrett and them just flat out lied. They lied to me time and time and time again. And every time I'd ask them questions, they just like bullshit me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any leverage to kind of like, grab somebody by the neck and say, no, you're going to give me a straight answer. I was in Windsor and they're in Nashville.
Yeah.
So I like that. If I wanted to seek out Vince, I could probably find him in the arena and confront him on stuff. And maybe I should have. Instead of going to Shane, I went to Shane, went to Hunter, went to Stephanie, even went to Linda and, talked with everybody, and went to Bruce. I went to every subordinate, but I didn't go to him. And maybe things had been different if I just pulled him aside and said, look, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
He might have appreciated that, or he might have told me I'm an asshole. But if he told me I'm an asshole, things would have wound up the way they wound up anyways. So lesson learned,
Yeah.
Just because he's the boss doesn't mean you shouldn't confront him.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree. So after all that, now we head to the UK.
Yes.
You were part of something called Celebrity Wrestling.
Yeah.
So what was that? I don't personally. I'm not sure what celebrity wrestling is. But I know. Sorry, that sounds really bad. I know.
No, I totally get you.
You was the head trainer or one of the head trainers there, if I'm correct.
Well, what it was is I got contacted. I was doing a show for Brian Dixon's All-Star Wrestling. And this guy, Stephen Lovelock, I'm amazed I remember his name. I haven't talked to the guy in years. He came to one of the shows and pulled me aside backstage and said, listen, watch your stuff. I really like it. We're doing this series and I can't give you details right now, but we'll stay in touch. I'm like, sure. And then totally forgot about it. Then months later, I'm sitting in my house in Germany and I get a call and they say, listen, we got this show we want to do. Steven's been putting you over for months and months and months. Do you want to come and do a tryout? I'm like, okay, well, it's Tuesday now. On Friday, I'm going to Canada for 2 weeks. Do you want me to do it when I get back? Because like it was December. I was going to visit my parents at Christmas. And they said, no. We want you to come tomorrow. I was like, oh, okay. So they got all my crap together, flew me in the next day, flew me home right after.
Nice.
Yeah, took good care of me. And they took me to this, they still didn't quite describe what it was. They said, how would you train these celebrities? You got to train 6 celebrities. And another wrestler is going to train 6 celebrities. And I want to see what you do. How would you make it entertaining? So, all right. So they pulled me into this judo studio in the middle of London. And they gave me the guy who's the physical trainer for the celebrities. Little, well-muscled little guy. And Steven. Steven's still wearing jeans and a button-up. And so they're going, okay, well, just, on your mark, get set, go, start. And they're filming it. So I was like, all right, ladies, this is what we're going to do. And as soon as I said that, the one woman behind the camera laughed and like that I called them ladies. I think that's what ultimately got me the gig more than the training.
Yeah.
But I did a training thing called PTA, pain, torture, and agony. Best wrestling cardio workout ever.
Okay.
Ron taught it to me back in Toronto. I said, the Russian Olympic team does it for 15 minutes. The Russian Army does it for 15 minutes. Ron had us doing it for 45. I said, Steven, you're going to last 3 minutes. And the trainer, I'm going to beat you before you're done 10. We're going to do 10. We're going to try and get to 10. Right. And Steven's like, oh, come on, man. I said, you're not going to do it. At a minute and a half, I did it with him. I said, I won't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do myself. At a minute and a half, he was crawling like a Civil War veteran trying to get off the battlefield. So I went over and picked him up by the belt and hauled him back like he was luggage. And walked him back over and said, no, I said you're doing 3 minutes, you're doing bastard 3 minutes. And I made him do it. And the trainer did the full 10. And like I was peppering it at the end because I wanted to beat him. In fairness, he made the 10. But as soon as I said, all right, 10, we're done, he collapsed. And I walked comfortably off the thing because I'm just used to the workout. And the TV people were impressed. I'm like, I still want to know what we're doing here. We'll tell you later. And I thought that meant you'll see it on TV because you're not involved.
Right.
And then when I was in Canada, I got a phone call there. I give them the number. And they said, yeah, you're doing it. And when you get to London on this date, we'll tell you everything. And so they got me to ITV Tower. And it was Bill Brown, who was the other trainer.
Yeah.
And I'd known D'Lo for years, so it was really cool to hang out with a buddy. Yeah. And Roddy Piper was one of the hosts.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the office and they give us this stack of papers. Go, these are the gaming towers. I was like, hey. And I look at it and I said, oh, it's gladiators. And it was like in the movies where you hear like the record skip and everybody drops their cutlery and stares and the spotlight goes on one guy. Like, you can't say that. I'm like, why not? They go, because that's a BBC property and we're ITV. So you can call it date rape if you want. It's fucking gladiators. That's what you're doing here. And they said, well, we put a lot of time and effort. And I said, okay. I said, I think you're mismarketing it because it's not wrestling. So people who want to tune into this thing, who don't like wrestling, aren't going to tune in because you use wrestling.
Yeah.
People who do like wrestling are going to tune in, and then it's not fucking wrestling.
Yeah.
Call it celebrity challenge, celebrity combat, celebrity whatever you like. Having Roddy Piper on there will get your wrestling point across. D'Lo too, me to a lesser extent, but those two guys definitely will get your wrestling fan base in there, but you won't misrepresent. And they wouldn't listen. And then we trained at a gym with the celebrities there. I had, I'm trying to remember the names of these guys. Ewan Thomas was there. He's Olympic sprinter. I had Victoria Silvstedt, hot as hell. Kate Lawler was on my team, I could have made a pro wrestler out of Kate Lawler. She totally had all the talent for it. So we put our teams together and they did these gladiators type games. And it was fun as hell. I had a great time, got well paid, got to hang out with Roddy Piper, who's one of the reasons I got into the business. Piper, Flair, and Savage were my three favorites. And so to get to hang out with Piper for 2 months alone was worth it.
Yeah.
And then it did, but the two of the nails in the coffin was, number one, mismanaging it. But number two, they put us up direct competition with the rebirth of Doctor Who. We were toe to toe with the rebirth of Doctor Who, which was a phenomenon, right? And it's like, the biggest deal in Britain.
Yeah.
So that just stabbed us right in the heart.
Yeah.
But even if it didn't, because it was misrepresented, I don't know how many people would have followed through on it. They ended up, I think we did 6 episodes for TV. I think we did 3 in the 9 o'clock time slot, and then 3 they moved to the weekends or something. I have them all on disc. I'm happy with it. My team won. Men's, women's, and teams. Yeah, men's, women's, and teams championship. I got the trophy over there in my house here. So I can't bitch about it. But I understand why it didn't work out. I wish it had, but I can understand why it didn't.
Yeah. That sounds cool as hell. That sounds brilliant. Especially being able to hang out with Roddy Piper.
Exactly.
What more can you ask for?
Exactly. Yeah. And then we'd call each other on the phone and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd wind him up on the phone. I called him up. It's like, hey, Rod, how you doing? And he's like, he always sounded 3 joints in. Maybe he wasn't, but I'd be like, hey, Rod, how you doing? Hey, Joey, how you been, man? So just doing okay. I just thought I'd check in. I saw that you were at the Royal Rumble there. Oh, yeah. Not sure why. So I think I know why, because they probably paid you well. Yeah. Well, when you got kids, you understand. And I'd get like a 3-minute Piper's Pit on the phone.
Yeah.
So I always found ways to dig in so that he'd give me a free Piper's Pit on the phone. He was a great guy.
There we go. R.I.P.
Yeah, bless his heart. They say never meet your heroes. They say never meet your heroes. I think he handled it well. No, he lived up to everything I'd hoped for it.
That's cool. Yeah. They're saying it's true sometimes, but in that case.
Yeah, exception to the rule. He was great.
I think it's every wrestler's dream. Hang out with one of your wrestling heroes.
Yeah.
So
he was definitely one of mine.
So you've done all of that, and then you was also working on the independent wrestling scene all over the world. Japan, Russia, America, the UK. Obviously, over here in the UK, you work for, like you said, All Star Wrestling, Warwick Williams, Alan Ravenhill, Welsh Wrestling.
Yeah, FWA, HEW, and Hearts and Essex.
Yeah.
WX, WAW, just tons of them. A whole mess of them. I couldn't keep all. It's an eye chart.
HCW was ran by Johnny Rose, I believe. Back
Yeah.
then. So let's hear some
John.
let's hear some Johnny Rose memories, because I'm sure if he's going to watch this, he's going to love to hear some stories. He said to me how you two had a really good match in Butlins. It's good to know.
Yeah. We worked together. I wasn't quite sure what he was doing, but he kind of gave me the vibe that he wanted to do a Dusty Rhodes type thing. Like, I didn't quite know what his gimmick was.
Yeah.
And as soon as the match started, we're kind of, circling around and feeling each other out. And then he just turned into Dusty Rhodes. I'm just going to do Flair Dusty Rhodes today. So all I did was go in my mental Rolodex of all the Flair Dusty Rhodes matches I had. And it was a pleasure. He was so easy to work with. He knew exactly when to kind of fire up and when to drop dead and when to do the funny dance and wiggle his ass and get the crowd behind him. He had a certain charisma that the crowd liked.
Yeah,
he was fun to work with. And just a super nice guy. You can't ask for a nicer guy than him.
Yeah, I've worked with him in the past, and I've toured him many years ago. And the guy knows how to work a crowd, and he knows how to.
Well, that's just it, yeah.
They say about the 5 moves. That's all you do. I was speaking to Randy Hogan in my last episode, and he said about the 5 moves back in the olden days. And Johnny can do that.
Yeah,
to work a crowd just with a wrist lock. It's not very often you come across that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I remember saying that to the cat, the Jerry Lawler's wife at the time. I was saying, I appreciated Lawler's work because he had a punch and a pile driver. Like, that was it. He really didn't do much of anything else, but he could talk him into the building on the mic. And his punches looked good, except I wasn't big on the stomp. Stomp was too obvious, but it looked like it made contact for the most part. And, the pile driver always looked brilliant. There's some guys who just, you see the person's head flopping and flying all over. Lawler kept it tight, so it looked brutal. And he was a guy who knew the scope of his draw. He knew that if he stayed in Memphis and worked that territory, why would I leave to go to other territories where I might not get as over, where I might not have the control over the character that I want to have, and yada, yada, yada. He decided, instead of going out and conquering the world, he made Memphis the world and had everybody coming in trying to conquer it. It was a smart business move. They'd bring in everybody and he'd beat them. And then ECW kind of took that business model, where they were the center of the universe, and anybody coming from WWE and going to WCW would filter through ECW for a week or two, and vice versa. And that, to me, that was the Memphis business model. Guys would filter in, be a threat to Lawler. Lawler would beat him. They'd leave and go to the other company. You see, it's a smart business move because he'd get them when they were hot and send them packing. And in the meantime, the Memphis fans had their icon.
Yeah, I would say Jerry.
So it worked out, but punch and pile driver, that was it.
Yeah, I would say Jerry Lawler is probably like the biggest Memphis. What's the word? Biggest
icon.
Yeah, icon. That's a good word. Yeah, I would say he is. So
he had the best finish ever for working with a guy who wasn't very good. When he had Ahmed Johnson beat him for whatever the Memphis belt was. You know that finish?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
10 body slams. Because Ahmed Johnson wasn't graceful, right? Big, strong guy. So just body slam, body slam, body slam, body slam, pin, kick out at 1, body slam, pin, kick out at 2, body slam, 2.5, body slam, 2 3/4, body slam 3.
Easy.
It made perfect sense.
Yeah.
It seems ridiculous, but it worked. The crowd went berserk. Every time Lawler kicked out, they went crazy.
Yeah, I like
and
that.
They didn't blame him when he lost. And it was a psychologically sound match. He worked the same body part every time.
Yeah.
So rather than putting himself at risk, say, hey, Ahmed, why don't you dive off the ropes on me? He was like, I'm not putting myself in danger. Body slam me. You can do that without fucking up, can't you?
Yeah, that makes sense. Easy.
Yeah.
As well.
Smart as hell.
Yeah, definitely. So, starting when you started wrestling, what would you say is missing from today's wrestling?
Believability.
Sorry?
Believability.
Yeah.
I find there's a lot of choreography going on that doesn't need to be. Who's it? Ricochet worked in Japan with Will
Ospreay.
Osprey, that's the one. And it's a hell of an athletic display.
Yeah, yeah.
But at no time during that exchange did I think anybody was fighting.
Yeah.
And I think we lose the pop at the end. We lose the drawing people in because we want to see somebody win. And we want to see somebody lose when it's so choreographed. And I understand, like, the moves are more dangerous. I'm as guilty as anybody is doing programs as far as, okay, I'm 6'3" and I'm about 250. So I'm one of the larger guys in the modern game. Years ago, I was quite average, but now there's a lot of juniors. So all these guys want to do these dives. Watch AEW. Every match is a fucking dive. So you want to make sure you're catching the guy correctly. If he's going to do a flip, or if he's going to do a tope, or if he's going to do, moonsault, you want to make sure you're not catching an elbow or a knee to the face, and you want to be there to protect the guy and catch it.
Yeah.
So you got to work a little bit more in program style to make sure everybody's safe. But I don't see Stan Hansen out there.
Yeah.
Like when I watched Stan Hansen right up until he retired, I bought his shit.
Yeah, brutal.
He looked like he wanted to kill you. And I think that's where things are lacking. I know Undertaker did that promo recently where he said everybody's soft. I don't know if I would say everybody's soft. I think I'd say there are less legitimate tough guys who can really fight. I wouldn't say they're soft. I think there's a lot of tough guys because the beatings they're putting on their bodies.
Yeah.
And still going. Proves that they're not soft. But I would say there's less legitimate fist fighting, badass tough guys. Like one story, I won't say who it was, two guys I know very well. But they arrived in WWE. Taker and Austin took him out drinking. Come on, we're going out drinking. And they got him fucking ruined. It was like a Thursday night and they got him mashed. Then Friday night, they do the gig. After the gig, come on, boys, we're going drinking. They dragged him out to strip bars or whatever, got him liquored up again. Saturday, same thing. Sunday, they're like, okay, boys, we're going. And my two buddies were like, listen, Taker, thank you so much for welcoming us in and everything. But we just can't drink like you guys. You're killing us. We're here 1 week and we're going to die of cirrhosis of the liver. And Taker's response summed up the business to me right now. He said, you guys are the new era. You guys would rather have a laptop than a lap dance. That's where I see the industry right now. There's less hard ass party guys and more, let's go read the stooge sheets and get online and, sit in the hotel room and plan spots.
Yeah.
It's probably more socially responsible, but it is just a different mindset to the business.
Yeah.
But an in-ring product, I think I want to see somebody more believable. Like what was the thing the Fiend did where the Funhouse or something? So the Firefly Funhouse, is that what it's called?
Right. Yeah, Firefly Funhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, call me Jim Cornette, but that's not for me. That's not my taste. I'd rather have two guys going out there and fighting like Steamboat Flair in '89.
Oh, yeah.
Those were two guys who were just brilliantly tearing each other down because they wanted that belt. I want to see contests like that.
Yeah.
More than foolishness.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I personally, I would agree with you. That's my opinion. I would agree with you. That one, I prefer the old school kind of mentality of wrestling than, I'm not one for the whole flips and tricks. I'm more of the old, out there and fight,
Yeah, like the flips are interesting and it's athletic as hell.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you have to mix the flips and violence, Sabu.
Yeah, it's good. That's good.
And he kind of overdoes it. And I love Sabu to death. He's helped me immensely in my job. But he'd be your standard bearer as far as maintaining that holy shit violent attack guy with the wow, I can't believe the athleticism of this guy at the same time.
So do you think there's too many flips and tricks going on right now in wrestling? Maybe, sorry.
I said he can ooh-ah you as well as yay boo you.
I agree with that. Do you think there's too many flips and tricks going on right now in wrestling?
Yes. I can't distinguish one match from the next half the time. Like I haven't really watched any of the product for a while, but when I happen to chance upon it, I can't see a match without a flip. I just think that it used to be like when I saw Owen Hart, he was the first guy I ever saw do a moonsault. When I saw that, I just about jumped out off my sofa. Like, what was that? Yeah. And I saw Muda doing it. Oh my God. And now if you don't see it, you feel ripped off as a ticket buying fan. And I just think, guys, if the psychology is real, why would you do a suicide dive? I do a homicide dive, but a suicide dive makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that you're trying to sacrifice yourself for the win, I get it. But if you sacrifice yourself 100 times for the win, tells me you're not a confident fighter, you're desperate. I don't want to watch a desperate guy. I want to watch somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's where I find the psychology is a little bit weak.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I really do agree with that. That's a good point. Very good point. So, question I have for you. You can go as personal as you want with this. It's up to you how you go with this. Your highs and lows in your career so far.
Lows, I felt pretty bad when WWE let me go because I put up with so much shit. I thought I was going to come out the tail end of it as appreciated, and it wasn't. So that annoyed me. Highs in the career, I'd say, well, it wasn't actually a match. I was in Regina, Saskatchewan. I was going to wrestle RHYNO that night. They'd flown me over to do this cross-Canada tour. And I had 4 belts with me. I had Japan, South Africa, France, and Russia. So I brought these belts with me, and I asked the promoter, I said, listen, I'll bring these belts. Can we do a lottery every night? And pick 4, just like $1, real cheap. And then the ones who win the lottery, they get to walk to the ring and carry the belts for me.
Good deal.
And then we'll give the money to like the United Way or something. Give it to charity. I thought we'll do something good with the belts. And so he agreed. So I get to Regina and I asked him if, okay, you got the tickets? He's like, no, I didn't get to the shop to get tickets. He goes, but there's this guy here who's in a wheelchair and he's in a bad way. Would it be okay if he just carried all 4? I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. We don't have the tickets anyways. Why not? So I'm at the merch table, slutting out my merchandise. And he comes rolling up with this lady pushing him. And he's like, yeah, Joe Legend. I'm like, hey, how are you? I guess you're my lovely valet today, right? Haha. And he does this, like he's really, all his muscles are really cramped up. So I shake his hand. And he says, I just want to tell you something, if you got a minute. I said, yeah, I got nothing but time. Yeah. He said, well, I used to be very physically able, but when I found out I had this condition, I decided I didn't want to get this way. So I planned to kill myself. Oh. And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. I'm glad you didn't do it. I'm really happy you didn't do it. I'm glad you're here. And he says, well, what happened was, he goes, I was in my living room and I was filling out these letters for my family and friends so they knew what happened, why I did it, and who was getting what of my possessions. He goes, and WWF was on TV across the room and I couldn't reach the remote. So I just let it run, but he goes, but I was watching it and it just got so interesting. He goes, I saw you on there. I said, I was only on there a couple times, so I'm amazed you caught me. He said, no, and he described the angle, so he's seen it.
Yeah.
And he said, so I watched it till the end. Shit, that's a really interesting finish. I wonder where they're going with this. So I decided to hold off on my suicide for a week because I just wanted to see how this thing would play out. So I waited a week. And the next week I was sitting in my chair and I had my remote. I had everything ready. So as soon as the show's over, I'm done. He goes, but it goes to the finish. And it was so interesting. I thought, okay, the pay-per-view Sunday, I'll watch the pay-per-view. And then after the pay-per-view Sunday, that should be it. I watched the pay-per-view, and then, what's the fallout going to be on Monday? He goes, and it just kept going like that. 1 week became 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 months, 2 months, 3 months. I started getting on message boards, and interrelating with wrestling fans. He goes, and that's where I met. He turns real. He was struggling, but he turns because that's where I met my wife. And he points to the girl pushing the chair. And I was like, oh wow, like, it's all kind of shocking me. And then he puts his hand up to me. He goes, I just want to say thank you for saving my life. Now, I know, hand on heart, I know it was more Austin, Rock, Taker, those guys. But the fact that I had any hand in it at all to help a guy, I was doing one little thing on the show that helped that guy not to do that.
Great.
Best moment of my career. Other than that, when I turned 50, 3 days before I turned 50, I did a show here in Germany, and my kids got to come see me wrestle for the first time.
Wow.
In our state here in Niedersachsen, you have to be 15 to go to a wrestling show, but it was just over the border.
Yeah.
So I brought my kids, I did the main event, and after I won, I brought my kids in the ring and did a big thing and had the whole crowd cheering for him. So that was a strong night too. But the guy telling me he didn't kill himself, that was easily, and thanking me for saving his life. That trumps any, if it'll piss people off, but that any pretend belt, this trumps any of that.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, that's a really nice thing. I can imagine how amazed you was at that.
Yeah, I got all teary and I went and talked to Tracy Brooks. I'm like, Tracy, this guy said this. And she's like, don't say that. She was like calling her that. It was funny. We were a pair of fucking sissies.
I love it, man. That's probably the best high I heard from a wrestler, That's amazing.
Oh, nice.
That's really cool. That's really, really cool, honestly. Somebody who suffers with mental health as well. And there's kind of times where I have wanted to do stuff like that as well. That's yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad. Hopefully it's a story that inspires. I hope so.
Hopefully, yeah. So my last thing that I like is quite new to my podcast is quick fire round.
Okay.
So basically, I will throw a couple of names at you, and it's just a quick opinion. That's it, bad, good, whatever you want to do. So my first name is RHYNO.
One of my best friends. Talked to him just the other day, and I usually go and work for him when he runs charity shows once a year in November. Can't wait to see him again.
Kevin NORTHCUTT.
Criminally underrated, hard worker. Haven't talked to him in years, but I have a feeling if I were to see him, it'd be like we hadn't been apart 10 minutes. He's just one of those genuine good souls.
Yeah, I like them people.
Yeah.
I hope I get this name right. Sweet Daddy SIKI.
Sweet Daddy SIKI, trailblazer, and tough as nails. He was in the army, and to be a black guy in the 60s, doing a gay gimmick in the South. That man had balls. Wow. Yeah, that man had balls of solid rock, and used to hang out with Martin Luther King.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah. He was a trailblazer for a lot of reasons in wrestling, and just in civil rights and such. Nothing but respect for Mr. SIKI.
And last, SEXTON HARDCASTLE.
Glad he's back. Glad that when he leaves wrestling next time, hopefully it'll be on his terms and not on injury terms. He's back. I assume he's happy with his decision, and I mean, they're obviously running him right up the pole, so they must have confidence in him. And it'll be nice for him to be able to shine in front of I think he has 2 kids now. It'll be nice for him to be able to shine in front of his kids and let them celebrate his big match the same way my kids did mine here in Germany, just on a much bigger scale.
There we go. So that's my questions. I have a fan question.
Sure.
This guy knows who you are. Let me just read what he said. By all accounts, he worked in the same show with you. His name is Tristan Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
This question to you is: a few years back at the City Hall in Salisbury, in an all-star show, you hurt your knee. Nobody caught on straight away, but I could tell something was wrong straight away from wrestling myself. So I went to the bar and asked them for an ice pack to give to you. My question is, what did you do to your knee, and how long were you out? Sorry, it was a really long one.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Wow, what the heck was his name? Who's the guy who used to use the bull hammer, the elbow? He was head of the Nexus or whatever.
Oh, Wade Barrett.
Wade Barrett. Okay. His real name's Stu Sanders. I was wrestling him that night. And he gave me a simple belly-to-belly atomic drop. And when I came down, my leg shot sideways. Like the knee popped out and back in and stretched out all the tendons. I went to the hospital, got x-rays and everything. I didn't break anything. I didn't tear anything, but I stretched the hell out of the tendons. What I did after that was I got a big knee brace, learned how to tape my leg up, and went to Japan for Noah because they were paying big money and I was supposed to be there for a month. And I didn't want to miss out on it. So I had to kind of on the fly be my own MASH unit and learn how to take care of my own injury. If you watch, I think it's me. If you look on YouTube, it's me, DiBiase Jr. and Daniel Bryan teaming up in Budokan Hall. And you'll see I have a huge knee brace on my right knee. And that's because of that. That's what I did to myself. It sucked. And I probably should have had a time off or a surgery to tighten the tendons, but I didn't do it. And I had knee problems for years later. And I do have a mild arthritis in my knees. I know that when I got checked out, and then eventually, obviously, the hips were fucked. So I had to get those changed. So hopefully with the hips done, that'll balance things out and I won't have to do anything to the knees. But that's what happened then. I was with Stu. And I felt bad for Stu because everybody kept calling him clumsy the whole time. They go, watch out, he's clumsy. And then that atomic drop happens. And I get to the back, I'm, being carried in. And they were like, Stu, you clumsy fucking. No. And I'm like, hey, it wasn't his fault. It was just an atomic drop that went wrong. It wasn't his fault. I was trying to, but nobody wanted to listen. They just wanted to go villain on the poor guy. So if Stu happens to listen to this podcast, I don't blame you. It wasn't your fault. Simple, it's not checkers. These things happen.
There we go. There are Stu, no hard feelings. And
not a bit.
Now you know what's happened. I've got one more last question for you before we go.
Sure.
So to any rookie or to anybody who would like to start wrestling after COVID, what is one piece of advice you could give to this person?
Advice, I'd say, number one, get your cardio as strong as you can get it. Because you can know all the moves, but if you get late in the match and you get tired, you get sloppy, you'll hurt yourself or somebody else. And the person you're in the ring with is trusting you with their safety. So you don't want to be picking somebody up and then collapsing and dropping them on their head. So having great cardio is key. And as far as a psychological thing, remember that the moves make you a wrestler. What's between the moves makes you a star. Like with the people's elbow, was it the elbow or was it when he yanked the elbow brace down and looks at the crowd? That's where the crowd went nuts. The elbow was an afterthought. Most of the greats, Hogan, Taker, Cena, all your top guys all had stuff between the moves that weren't wrestling, but were star power maneuvers, Benoit, for different reasons. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
But everybody has kind of a gesture of some sort. Austin.
Yeah.
Austin. They all have these, just The Rock looking and smelling what The Rock is cooking. All these guys who have these certain gestures. Randy Orton throws himself down and punches the floor. All the greats have that, and that's between the moves. That's what will make you a star. Learn your moves, but have something character-based between the moves, and you'll be money.
I think that is missing as well in wrestling, like especially on the independent scene.
That's what I'd suggest.
Oh, I agree. 100% agree on the character and everything else you said. So that's it. That concludes the Rambles. Is there anything else?
Okay. Can I just plug one thing?
Yeah. I was just about to ask. Anything else you want to mention? Go ahead, Nick.
If you go to w3lwrestling.com, they put out a new T-shirt, a Joe Legend T-shirt, and I think they look pretty damn good. So if you want to pick up a Heroes Come and Go, Legends Live Forever, you can find them at w3lwrestling.com. And upcoming, I can't give details right now, but I signed off yesterday. I'm going to be starring in a music video for a German rock band. So when I have more information on that, I film it next week. And when I have more information on that, I'll put it out there.
Very cool. I'll post all of them in the description below as well, so people can go in, check the website out, and look at your new merchandise. And then, So this has been Mr. Joey Legend. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you recover fast and you can get back to the wrestling once the COVID is gone? Because I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, hey, I haven't used crutches in weeks. I'm good. I'm really doing well. Now it's just I have to wait till April 6th. April 6th, and then I'm good to go in the ring. April 8th. And then I'm good to go in the ring. So I'll definitely be back.
Cool. Well, good luck with that one. And I've been CueBall's, I'll hit a brawler. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and like YouTube on our. Stay safe, stay positive. # yeah.